All right, and coming up next, we have Shovel Knight King of Cards, the 80% New Game Plus, being run by DanTheVP. Let's go.
All right, I am DanTheVP, and I'm glad to be back today for another run for this winter 2022 event. This is Shovel Knight King of Cards. It is one of my absolute favorite games to speedrun, especially the New Game Plus variant. This is the fourth and final installment in the original Shovel Knight game series. So traditional platformer, boss fights, overworld, everything that you would expect in Shovel Knight game. Just a little bit about the New Game Plus route before we jump in. This is not your, typical New Game Plus. What I mean by that is Yacht Club always kind of changes things up and makes New Game Plus a really different experience, and not just kind of the I've got all the power, I'm invincible, and you just kind of get to have fun in the game. We will have fun in the game, but specifically a couple of things change. One, you can see on the screen right now, I've got a whole bunch of hearts here. We're only going to have 4 the entire run. You can't upgrade your health at all in New Game Plus. Also, instead of having our normal pool of magic that we can spend and that's going to refresh at the beginning of every level, we have to spend our riches to use any of our relics, which are kind of the on-use items. And so we can have access to all of those items, and we can use them as long as we have money, which is why we're going to start this run with 99999 riches. And then the other element to that is we basically kind of become Sonic. 1, because we're really fast, and 2, because if we take damage, we're going to lose money. So the limited health pool, our resource being tied to take damage really makes this an intense run, and we're going to go really quickly because we do have access to all of those items that we collected in the new game run. So with that being said, we're going to start off here, and time starts whenever I select yes. I'm going to do my best to point things out. If anybody's got questions, feel free to post them in chat. David TKI's there. He probably knows more about this game than I do at this point, and is a veteran Shovel Knight runner as well. So between him and I, hopefully we can answer some questions. But with that being said, we're going to start this run in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so I mentioned we have access to all of these relics, and we're going to really be using 3 or 4 that you'll get to be well acquainted with. And the first one is this Scepter of Swiftness. Anytime you see me dashing across the screen like that, I've used the Scepter of Swiftness. And it's important because it's a really powerful tool to get through some of these screens quickly. And it might look a little bit easier than it actually is, because it creates a situation where you have to be prepared and know exactly where your spacing is at any point in time, because when the swiftness charge ends, you're kind of just hung out to dry. And if you're over a bed of spikes, or if there's an enemy right there, you're gonna take damage, and we've already kind of gone over why that is an issue. We're also going to see these gyro boots, which is me spinning around like a maniac with that green swirl around my body. And the gyro boots are really quick. They give us a little extra height when we use them, but they turn us into the most unwieldy character you've ever played in a platforming game. And so we're going to see them get used more and more, and just know anytime you see me green, it is the most difficult platforming in the game. And that happens because if you touch the side of walls with now your expanded hitbox, you get a little boost off of them. Which, as the levels get harder and the spaces get tighter, it gets more difficult to keep from bouncing off those walls. You'll see a lot of the gyro boots in this coming up level as well. We can chain using the gyro boots together and keep that increased momentum. You'll see a little bit of this flame sword, which I love. It makes me feel like a Dark Souls boss. It's mainly useful to get through kind of dirt blocks. There we go. Mainly useful to get through dirt blocks and kind of deal some quick damage to bosses. And the other thing to mention right off the bat is I've got a special set of armor that we normally wouldn't have during this point of the run, but since it's New Game Plus, I do have. And that armor is letting me hold down the bash button, which is what controller am I playing on? The square button. You're on a PlayStation controller. So we normally can dash, just think kind of Wario, and that this armor lets us charge that, which is important because we can then bash up and down, which is completely unique to this set of armor and lets us platform and get around some obstacles really quickly. I told you this run was going to go quick. So that was the first boss fight. It was Spectre Knight. We're thankfully only going to see him once because he's kind of a pain in this run. And we took him down using the turncoat, which is kind of the fourth item of note in this run. It's also notable because it is the one item that we use in the any percent run. And what the turncoat does is it lets us roll around, and it also lets us absorb damage from enemies and then shoot it back at them. And it's really important, especially on Spectre Knight, because if you get a full charge, which is absorbing damage 3 times, the projectile that you release does 3 points of damage in 1 hit. So enemies like Spectre Knight that gets iframes, you can damage them much more quickly by doing 3 damage at a time. At this point in the game, we have an airship now, and you're going to see me saving and going to the title screen anytime we go to the airship. We're only going when we're forced, not taking any, extra detours for the ship. There's no need for us to buy anything from the ship or get money on the ship since this is New Game Plus. And it's quicker to exit to the title screen because it saves all the overworld animations like you can see here. So when we're forced to the ship, you'll see that happening. This stage, you'll really get to see the turncoat in action. This is the stage you normally unlock this relic, and as such, it's the only relic you can use in this stage. There's a quick cycle we might be able to make here, and we did. Probably the hardest jump in the first 15 minutes of this run, at least for me. You see me using the turncoat there to roll through those enemies and absorb their damage. All right, we're already on out. Not even 6 minutes left. Yeah, 6 minutes into the run, we're already getting to the first boss. So one of the things I enjoy most about this run, on top of just everything about this run, yo, what's up, Norcus, is all of the boss fights they become a lot more unique than they are in the 80% run because we've got all these relics, so we can really tailor our strats to what each specific boss gives us, as opposed to just using the turncoat. The turncoat is really strong, but as you'll see on this first boss, I guess second boss technically, first world boss I should say, we're going to use something pretty unique, and it's quite a bit of fun. You'll also see me using some other relics that only pop up a couple of times, like the rat there. All right, so we're gonna get these kind of unicorn things we can shoot. I can't remember their name. And we're just gonna shoot King Pridemore in the face over and over. Force him to spawn over here, and that's the first boss done. That fight is much different on any percent, and it's the one time we can really just kind of stand and shoot with that specific relic. All right, so that is World 1 out of 4. We've got 3 main worlds and then the final world. And you might be wondering to yourself, or maybe you saw some things about this game and you might be thinking, isn't there a card game in this game? And you would be right. There is a card game in this game. Luckily, we don't have to play the card game. And it's kind of within King Knight's, it kind of makes sense that we skip it because the card game is kind of a joke because King Knight at this point isn't a king yet. And he hears about this competition to become the king of cards. It's really just that. They're supposed to be playing this card game, and you're supposed to go challenge the champions and duel them in cards. But he's a little thick and thinks he really has to defeat them. He doesn't like to play cards, and that's why we're actually attacking these bosses. Next stage has got some cycles to it. We're going to try to get through here without getting crushed. That's one down. Probably take it a little easy here. Yeah, almost had that. Yeah, oh, well, we made that one. Got the fast, slow cycle at least. Use the rat here. This game does have secret exits as well. We've taken a couple of them so far, and I have done a poor job of pointing them out. This is really kind of the biggest world that Yacht Club created in any of these Shovel Knight games, and there are lots of secret exits. There's lots of ways to unlock these overworlds, and it's very reminiscent of like a Super Mario Brothers 3 game with, you know, bonus houses and unlockables and shortcuts and stuff. And if you're a fan of this genre and haven't played King of Cards specifically, it is a fantastic game to play casually. And sometimes we just take damage and decide to walk and go slow, but we do have a fallback. If you exit out of a stage and return to the overworld, it kind of erases all of the progress you made in that stage, which also gives us all the money back that we might have lost in a stage. We can basically fly in this game too, as you'll notice in a couple of places like that, combining the Scepter of Swiftness with the Charged Bash into the Gyro Boots. And then after we use the Gyro Boots, if I start holding Bash again, I can kind of chain Bash Boots, and you can basically fly. If we weren't already powerful enough, all of these Plague Knight themed stages are very cycle based. Hopefully we can get through here. Now is a perfect time.
Great. We have a donation from Tempest Mask 1000 that says for $5. It says, "Hi, Power Up with Pride friends. As a member of the Spade Brigade, I had to support Dan's run. Such a fantastic dude that puts a smile on anyone's face. Good luck with the wriggly, bombastic bashing and all that jazz. And let's get a donation trade to meet that Doom 64 incentive. We're almost there."
You know, thanks for the support. That stage is one I like to not have to talk during anyway. Where this kind of section of the game starts to get really intense with the how much we're switching between our movement options. And just a quick shout out to Norcus in chat, who's a current world record holder and has really optimized a lot of these strats. Just how much we can switch back and forth between a couple of our tools to really optimize our movement speed, because that's what it is. A lot of it is just where can we use items without kind of coming to a full stop? How can we chain things together? You know, the spacing on the scepter, like I've mentioned, is really important. Even like just there, I was a little close to the wall, so I bounced off the wall where I could have just gone straight into the screen transition. But we're coming up on the next world boss, and it is the Tropical King. Don't worry, we'll be friends after it. But this is a rather enjoyable fight for me if I get it right, or if I get it mostly right. Because the Tropical King has a very large hitbox, and if we approach him just correctly, we can take advantage of that. You don't know how hard it is to die right there. And that was just me being careless. But we'll get all our money back right here anyway. It's almost funny that I can die right there. Alright, Tropical King, let's actually do this. And we didn't. But we got close. And that's what counts. And you get to see my Dark Soul False Sword, which luckily still hits his hitbox quite a few times running through there. Still a pretty quick kill. So what happened before this boss fight is you're supposed to take the boat across the screen, but if you don't, the game spawns a boat for you, and it is incredibly difficult to make that screen transition happen and die, because it's like the game's programmed to not let you die there. But I think that's only the second time I've ever had that happen. But marathon luck and all that. We're moving on to World 3. And we're going to have some Tinker Knight themed stages. And you might be asking yourself, you know, we're seeing all these stages that, you know, thematically they're similar, but we're not seeing Plague Knight, we're not seeing Tinker Knight. Where have all the boys gone? And that's a good question. That's very astute of you to ask. And they all exist in this game, but with that kind of Mario 3 take on an overworld in mind, what Yacht Club did is they made the bosses that you know from the previous games as basically Hammer Bros. Once you've progressed so far in the world and defeated so many levels on one of the overworld maps, that corresponding boss spawns, and so you can then go fight them at their own kind of on your own pace, which is another cool thing to point out that Yacht Club has done. Is for the 80% of this run, the game is programmed that none of the random overworld events will ever block the path you just unlocked, which is just such a nod to Yacht Club and how they kind of pay attention to the speedrunning communities and what we do and what we complain about. You know, the games are not, you know, specifically tailored to us, but when they can make our lives a little bit easier like that, they do. Unfortunately, since we're doing New Game Plus, we can get blocked by stuff, so this run's actually done with random overworld encounters turned off. So we get one less boss fight in this category as well, which was actually the reason I first started running this, because we're supposed to fight Spectre Knight a second time. But since we've got to turn off the overworld encounters, we're not going to see that second fight. And that second fight is my least favorite part of the run. Also, definitely not supposed to be going back into this level. So there's something important to point out in this level, and hopefully I'll explain it before we get there. And that is how vertical auto-scrollers work in this game. So ending most of the levels, I've been grabbing a gold or red goal ring. And that's kind of the, okay, finished goal tape, whatever you want to call it. That was close. And when we enter a vertical auto-scroller like we're about to, we're not capped at the top of the screen, and that goal ring is still up there. We can technically end the level right there, and I was trying to listen for it, and I missed one of my inputs, so I don't know exactly where I am. All right, we might still be able to get it. There we go. We still ended the level off screen, just a little bit slower. I'm gonna have redemption though, because The game ends with a big vertical auto scroller that hopefully none of you will get to see, because hopefully I will skip it. That was kind of the last big thing routed into this category, was a consistent setup for the warp, wrap, keep, auto scroller skip. But this is Heavyweight Heights, which is another really tough level. We have these wins on a pattern cycle, not pattern. So it's really important that all the movement through this level is really on pace, or else I'm going to end up in a cycle that I don't know how to deal with. So we don't want to see that happening, but it looks like we're going to be good here. And all right, there we go. So moving on to the last stage on Third World. It's going to be a pretty long stage, and it's going to end with a fight against the Burger King. And hopefully we get to show off that quick kill. This is one of my favorite levels, but it is extremely tough to get through. There are several unforgiving parts. You can see all these moving blocks, and again, they're all on a cycle. So as soon as one thing goes wrong, you just kind of roll into a hole. Kind of a theme of speedrunning King Knight is just accidentally rolling into a hole. Because the roll is initiated. All right, we're gonna have to go slow now. The roll is initiated by timing your bash, a second hit of your bash. So once I kind of charge, if I hit that again, I go into a roll. But after that, you're just kind of like using the scepter of swiftness. You kind of just hung out to dry. So you do a lot of rolling, and it's easy to get a little bit discombobulated. But this is Burger King. Let's try to get this strat. Almost. We're gonna get some hits up here, not as many as we could get. I took damage there, but Burger King has several healing cycles, and so if we can damage them fast enough, we can skip them. All right, that's not too bad. There is still a lot of RNG in these boss fights. So getting them consistently, getting the quick kills consistently is a big part of the really pushing down your time in these runs. All right, well, that's like 75% of the run done. 20 minutes in, looking good. I think I'm around 20 minutes. I've got my auto splitter running, which, if you've been looking for a new game, might I suggest a game in the King Knight flavor, or Shovel Knight flavor, because we've got auto splitters. And if you're a speedrunner and you haven't run a game with an auto splitter, come join the world of being really, really lazy. It'll make you not want to run a game without an auto splitter again. And but I say that to shout out all of the people in the Shovel Knight community and in all the various speedrunning communities that contribute things outside of, you know, just banging out runs, whether it's compiling resources or maintaining discords or, you know, programming tools or trainers or auto splitters. Really is, you know, every speed run is really a community effort. And we're always better the more people that decide to come hang out, enjoy some speed runs, you know, raise money for charities. Always a great time. And I'm a huge advocate for Shovel Knight speedrun community, as they've been a big part of my speedrunning career. I always love getting to show off these games. But we're coming close to the end. We've got 2 stages left. I want to compliment a couple of these stages, but it is usually my luck that as soon as I say something good about a video game, something goes terribly wrong. So just know that, you know, maybe I like this stage. I don't know. You'll never know. Unless maybe I finish it, and then I'll give you my real thoughts. All of these final Tower of Fate themed stages are really difficult to learn, even when we're kind of zooming through here. This is really tightly timed, and the spacing on where you're landing with the scepter is really important so that you can keep that chain going. So much of the game spawns around you as you're kind of revealing it on the screen. So going fast, just, you know, continually, the more you can go through things quickly and fluidly, things just come at you as soon as you get on the screen. All right, so this is Warp Wrap Keep, and we're going to try to have a good time in Warp Wrap Keep. No, we're going to start off dying in Warp Wrap Keep, but that's fine.
Oh, no.
We're going to be able to get that money pretty easily. But this is the stage that has giant auto scroller. We're going to die twice at the beginning of Warp Wrap Keep. I'm just stalling. We've had a good run up to here. Want my run to last as long as I can.
Just trying to give everyone more pride. More winter pride.
This is one of those death loop spots when I'm running this game. I'm like not surprised at all that I'm dying over and over to this bit. One of those places that you never die, but when you die once, I'm gonna die 5 times. All right, we made it through. So we're gonna get to a vertical auto scroller, and at that point, I'm going to not say anything, and I will explain things if they happen afterwards. I'm just gonna wait here. All right. That is coming up at the top of this ladder. All right, so right now I'm climbing, floating in a bubble off screen. Can't see it, but my eyes are closed as well. Thought you should know that. All right, I'm at the top of the screen. Trying to find a pixel perfect pole. You got it. 3rd try. Yay. Oh, come on. Where's the gold ring? Oh! Still technically off screen. Didn't save much time there, but it was still technically off screen. So there is all of the Shovel Knight games end in a big epic auto scroller. And, you know, once you kind of know how to make your way through there, it's not terribly difficult when you can see things. And that one wouldn't be terribly difficult, except at the very top, there's a ladder going through a 1 gap space, which is, you know, King Knight is a 1 gap king. So 1 gap space, not a big deal when you're on a ladder. But when that ladder is off screen, you can't interact with it. So in order to make that skip work, we have to not die here. All right. We have to set up an off-screen pixel perfect positioning. And it's fairly consistent how we can set it up, but it is always I wish it were that easy. A lot of listening and counting. And the other kind of element to that is we're using the charged bash over and over to charge upwards. And you have to hold for a certain amount of time, and there's a visual indicator, and that is King Knight flashing. But when that's off screen as well, it's really easy to kind of go too quick. But that was the Enchantress, which is phase 1 of 3 of the final boss fight. We're now going to fight the Triumvirate, which is the stand on the boss's hands phase. But we're going to shoot this boss in the ears, which we're going to use that strat we used on the very first boss, for the World 1 boss. There really aren't a lot of ways to damage this boss other than just your normal bash or this weapon, unfortunately. I'm going to go through phases. I'm going to try to stay on his hands as much as possible. That's right here. I'm going to take damage. This sets up perfectly. All right, so this is the last phase, and time is going to be whenever he reaches 0 health. We're going to do the brain freeze strat. Going to glitch the boss out. 1, 2, 3. You don't land on his hands. All right, time is in 2, 1, time. Oh, well, I gotta stop my timer too. Yo, that 28 is incredibly good for this run for a marathon setting for me, doing solo commentary, which I love doing because I love talking about this game. And that's King of Cards New Game Plus. Like I said, King of Cards is the 4th in this series, so, you know, maybe King Knight doesn't look like you're specifically what you'd like, but, you know, we've got Plague Knight, we've got Spectre Knight, we've got Shovel Knight, and I just can't say enough about the Shovel Knight speedrun community. There's plenty of folks that are, you know, happy to answer questions, help you start out playing the game casually, doing runs. This is on like every system you could possibly imagine. You can play it on 3DS. I think you can play this on the Amazon Fire Stick. So if you want to get into the game at all, feel free to reach out. Shout out to all the runners that have run and that are coming up. I love being able to participate in all and any of Power Up with Pride's events, raising money for a really great cause. I appreciate everybody hanging out in chat. I'm DanTheVP. You can find me anywhere as DanTheVP, and that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Dan. We really appreciated it. And thank you everyone in chat for being here with us through these amazing runs. Wasn't that such a great run of Shovel Knight King of Cards? I do want to remind you, of course, all of your donations here, you can type !donate in chat. All of those donations are going to the wonderful Trevor Project. And you can also put your donations towards incentives. So we met the Pac-Land Pro Showcase. So we've added a little bit of extra content after this next game, Pac-Land. So we have the Pac-Land 8 Trips race coming up soon. And thanks to your wonderful donations, we met the incentive to also get a Pac-Land Pro Showcase, which is showing off a bunch of levels in Pac-Land Pro. And then we're very close to unlocking a couple of games later, the Doom 64 Warp only levels, which again, we always want to see more content, right, chat? So we are at $455 out of $500 in order to get those Warp only levels for Doom 64. And those are secret levels that can only be accessed via warping using the menu. So that'll definitely be fun. So get your donations in, and I will, be trying to read them out when we're able to. I know Tempest Mask was trying to get a $5 donation train going so that we can reach that warp-only levels incentive for Doom 64. Because you can donate as little or as much. Even that $5 is super helpful and of course goes to a great cause. We did have some donations earlier that I haven't been able to get to. I just wanted to say we got a donation earlier for $40 from Botulism Sauce. Thank you so much. We also had a donation for $25 from Miramosa. Thank you so much. And one of our previous runners, Killing Pepsi, also gave us a donation of $25 that said, "Donation for my lack of Banjo series knowledge. Thank you as always for having me. Always grateful to be involved with Power Up with Pride." Thank you so much, everyone. Keep those donations coming. And just remember, these are all going towards that great cause. So the Trevor Project is the leading national organization providing crisis intervention and suicide prevention services to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning youth. You can check them out at www.thetrevorproject.org to access their services, find out more about their impact, or to donate. You can also type !charity in chat. Some other commands, we have the !donate if you want to donate, !Yeti if you want to see those amazing t-shirts that we have available. And they're only available, I believe, through the end of today. So if you want one of those Yeti t-shirts for the Winter Pride 2022, go check out that Yeti link now while those shirts are still available. They're super cute. I love them all, and I know I keep seeing people in chat and Discord talking about all these shirts, so definitely go check those out. So this is Winter Pride 2022 running all this weekend through today. If you missed any runs in the marathon so far, you can find them uploaded after the marathon on our YouTube channel. You can also stay up to date on this event and any future events by following us on Twitter or joining our Discord. Links to all these can be found in the panels below the stream or by using !social in chat. Stay tuned for that Packland 8 trips, the whole dang game race coming up, and the race is going to be Peace Egg, Rujasu, and Flannel Cat. So that's going to be absolutely amazing. Definitely stick around. So this is, of course, Winter Pride 2022, put on by Power Up with Pride Power Up with Pride. And all these donations, I've been saying, go to the Trevor Project, including if you buy those Yeti shirts, $5 from each shirt goes to support the Trevor Project. So you might be wondering, well, what does the Trevor Project do? So I figured I'd let you know. For the last 20 years, Trevor Project has worked to save young lives by providing support through their free and confidential crisis programs on platforms where young people spend their time. online and on the phone. Trevor Lifeline, Trevor Chat, Trevor Text, and Trevor Space. They also go beyond our frontline crisis services to invest in education, outreach, and advocacy resources. Their Trevor Lifeline is a 24/7 phone line launched in 1998 and hasn't stopped since. Trevor Text is a crisis service via text for youth that prefer texting on their phones. Trevor Space is the world's largest safe space social networking for LGBTQ youth. And then they also have research on LGBTQ suicidology. Regular evaluations and surveys ensure their services reduce risk of suicide and help them learn of the mental health issues affecting LGBTQ youth. They also have advocacy to protect LGBTQ rights. They work at the local, state, and federal levels to advocate for legislation and protect the rights of LGBTQ people. And then they have education to build allies for the LGBTQ community. So they educate adults who interact with youth on LGBTQ competent suicide prevention, risk detection, and response. So this is an absolutely, amazing organization, the Trevor Project. They've been around for a while. They have all of these services. They're even working on, coming up with new services, making sure that they can really support, our LGBTQ youth. So all of these donations are going to an amazing cause. And then of course, we also get amazing content. So we get these, amazing runs that have been going on since Friday, all different types of games, all different runners. We have all of the incentives too. So we've unlocked the Pac-Land Pro Showcase. So after this race, you will get to see the Pac-Land Pro Showcase, which is going to be levels in Pac-Land Pro, many of which are virtually impossible for humans and flatly ridiculous to the point of hilarity. But we also have some more incentives to still unlock. We're not done yet. So we're at $455 out of $500 for the warp-only levels of Doom 64. Again, more content, more marathon. I don't know about you, chat, but I always want to see more marathon. I love seeing these go, raising great money and getting to interact with these great communities is always so much fun. If instead you're interested in maybe, a bid war to make a choice for a game, we have The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening coming up later tonight, and you can put your donations towards either saving or leaving Marin. So right now, Save Marin is in the lead with $45. So maybe, that Legend of Zelda, maybe you just want to leave Marin behind, you don't want to deal it with this time. So, maybe make some donations, put your money in towards that. Or, of course, you can always put your money in towards Save Marin and just double down, make sure that, Marin is saved in this run. And then also, we do have one final locked game for the end of tonight. Our locked game is Final Fantasy X, being run by Moonblaze Wolf. We are at $1,657 out of $3,000. So if we can reach that $3,000 goal, we will unlock that extra game and the extra, couple of hours that are going. So definitely when you donate, you can do that !donate in chat. Make sure you're also putting your money in towards these great incentives. All right, we do have our Pac-Land 8 trips, the whole dang game race coming up in just a second. Let's go.